Welcome back to the Broad Street Benchwarmers podcast. My name is Adam Den, Michael Kormelos, and Ethan Lividitis here with me as always. And we're coming to you on a tough day. A tough day for me and Ethan. I see Mike over there with his ginormous grin. He knows how this feels. But I asked to start first today, and this is starting off like a funeral. I don't even know what I'm doing. But in a way, it kind of is a funeral.
It's the death of the Eagles franchise.
Yep, the death of an era. And, I posted all my parade stuff yesterday, and it was all sad. But Carson Wentz is no longer a Philadelphia Eagle, has been traded to the Indianapolis Colts for a conditional second-round pick, which could become a first in 2022, and a third-round pick this year. Deshaun Jackson has been released. Whether
Zach
that matters,
Ertz might be released.
Ertz is could be traded to the Indianapolis Colts as well. New England is a possible option as well.
Well, you guys would get off like Wentz. It was a stretch for getting what do you call it? Like a bunch of firsts. Like at least you guys would minimum get a first for Ertz. He's like a genuine top.
No, we're not getting a first. I promise. He maybe was so bad
at least 2 seconds. But
I mean,
if he's given a good QB, like if I could definitely see New England trading like a 2022 first for him.
Yeah,
because I know Bill Belichick knows that he's going to be good next year.
Yeah,
with all that cat. All right, sorry. Go ahead. I'll just.
I mean, Carson Wentz was a guy who, I mean, to be honest, was my hero personally for a little while as, a kid watching him, the start of his career. Obviously that MVP season is the best thing that has happened, in a while, or close to MVP season. That Super Bowl, we obviously handed it to Nick Foles, but I mean, played a huge part. And that's really why, everybody going out saying this is a bust pick, the goal was accomplished at the end of the day. And he was a major, major contribution to that goal. So I don't believe you can say anything of that sort. And I would trade, everything for that one ring, all the tough years of Eagles history, that may be to come after this, because, the future does look dark now. We'll get into that.
Yeah.
But I would definitely trade it for that one ring that we got and that he was a huge part of. But I think it was what's necessary as well. I mean, we don't know what the locker room situation is going to be like, for him one more year. I know he was respectful and fine for the time Jalen Hurts was there, but I don't know how he's going to take a backup situation, especially with the reports coming out of Philadelphia from the Inquirer basically every week. So I don't know. It's not the value I would have wanted for sure. I thought we could at least get a first out of it, a single first.
You might get a first, depending on how the conditional pick goes. I could definitely say. I mean, the Colts. Well, yeah, but maybe you don't know, but still, I think the Colts. What do you call it? The Colts don't have a really good offensive line, so I mean, he shouldn't have to be running for his life like he did it. You guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it hurts. No pun intended, but it hurts.
That's true.
Yeah, I have similar sentiments. It's just a managerial failure on the part of Jeffrey Lurie, allowing Harry Roseman to just decimate the roster. And it's probably just the beginning. All the guys that we know are probably going to get cut or traded just to get us out of the cap hell that we're in, or he's just going to bite the bullet and just suck, which is possible as well. But yeah, I mean, we failed Carson Wentz. Like we cannot forget like the great moments, but obviously last season was really bad, and that contract obviously isn't appealing if we're in like we're kind of outside of we're done with our window at this point. The window basically just shattered and just impaled. High Rosen right in like the palm. So I really can't see us winning for a considerable amount of time unless we unless we hit on draft picks, which is the last thing that we expect from this organization. And I mean, I really hope that second turns into a first because I guess you get a little bit better value. But I think it's like 75% of the snaps, which knowing Carson Wentz is possible if he has the right people around him. But
I think it's likely that he plays 75%. I mean, he play like, 90 this year, even with substituting Jalen Hurts out, not counting the obvious benching. But
that probably played a toll.
Yeah.
Yeah. The report that him and Doug Pearson didn't talk after like week 8 onward is just absurd. Yeah. That seems like
stuff.
Yeah, that seems like the everybody hates Carson Wentz, which could be true at the end of the day, but it's just a way to make the situation seem worse. Like it's already terrible, but it's not like we're a dysfunctional franchise. You cannot ignore that. Yep. But at the same time, you can't just make up nonsense for clicks because we are in the spotlight for probably the first time since the Super Bowl because it's such a big move, and at the same time, probably the last time for a considerable while. So
I can see in 2 years, somewhat playoff.
With Jalen Hurts developing.
Yeah, with Jalen Hurts, if that does pan out.
Yeah.
But again, that is a question as well. I mean, that is those last 2 games weren't fantastic, and when you only have a 5-game sample size, it's hard to kind of judge off that.
Yeah, taking a really big chance, but I think there is enough upside where you might as well just because the contract is obviously a lot more team friendly. Like if we got the same Carson Wentz that we got this year for top money in the league, then I mean I guess I can understand. But I feel I honestly can see Carson Wentz just balling out, and it just hurts me so much because it's a combination of Howie and Doug Pearson's play calling. Because despite all the mayhem that's going on within the roster, like all the injuries, he still said, "No, Carson Wentz, just throw it wherever you want. Like they're going to be open." And then, the play calling was bad. The roster construction was bad. It was just it was a total failure. We completely failed Carson Wentz.
Yeah, but I mean, again, it was a failure both ways.
Yeah.
I mean, we're gonna go 2,620 yards, 16 touchdowns, 15 picks. I mean,
handful of fumbles.
Yep, exactly. Was it the most turnovers in the NFL at the end of the season? Even though he only played.
Yeah, even though he
I'm pretty sure it was.
I don't know.
Definitely a chance.
I know at the time he got benched, it definitely was.
It was, yes.
But at the end of the year, I don't know because Kirk had like 13. I think Kirk had like 13 picks, and I can imagine he fumbled at least twice this season. Sacks, with terrible offensive line.
And Daniel Jones, of course.
Well, Jones didn't have a terrible interception problem this year.
Yeah,
it's just fumbles. But that lies on the Giants failing him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because I said it in my mock draft that I'm making. I'm sorry to go off topic, don't leave for a minute, but in the mock draft, I'm
shout out our blog, sports blog,
which will be in the description. You can go read it. But I'm making a mock draft. I sort of go off on Dave Gettleman because they really took a chance on this guy that nobody really knew, and it probably could have worked out well. I think it would have been a fine. I don't think it would have been a terrible idea. I mean, at the time, over Haskins was questionable. Now, obviously, we know what Dwayne Haskins turned into, and it's like, wow, they were actually right looking back at it. But as somebody, they have completely failed him, and they've given him no chance to succeed. And I see a lot of people who are like, you know what? I can't believe these people who think Daniel Jones is still good and all that yada, yada, yada. What has he been given? It's the same thing. It's the exact same situation in Philly, just 2 hours north.
Well, I mean, but I think
with the exception of Saquon, he's been given nothing. They drafted Andrew Thomas over 2 players who were almost all pros. 2 players who were as rookies almost all pros.
Yeah.
He's been given no help. Darius Slayton is the most Darius Slayton, in my opinion, is the most overrated wide receiver in the NFL. He's not good. Golden Tate's not good. Any other receiver. Evan Ingram, also most overrated tight end. He's not good.
Definitely.
He's the definition of overrated tight end. He's not good.
Definitely.
He's the definition of butterfingers. I mean, Andrew Thomas sucked.
Yeah.
The rest of the Alliance, terrible. They so suck. Like, it's awful. I don't know. It annoys me. It really makes me mad to see that. But yeah, that's my tangent. My dad's a Giants fan, so he has to witness.
There you go.
he every week he's just like, "Come on, Dan." He's like, "Come on."
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I just pulled it up. He had one more turnover than Kirk Cousins and Drew Lock to lead the league.
Danny did or Wentz did?
Carson Wentz.
Oh God.
Did Daniel Jones had as many as Josh Allen, which is wild.
That is wild.
It's 16, and then 17 was like Russ. And
that goes right with Mike's point.
Yeah.
Underrated point.
I mean, yeah.
Carson Wentz finished.
Should we address the possibility of number 6 just to mentally prepare ourselves?
Oh, for Zach Wilson.
Oh, you're drafting Lance. You're drafting Lance. It's all over Twitter.
Lance, I will.
That would. Yeah.
If we post our live reactions like afterwards, it is if in the event that we get a quarterback, it is going to be 10 times more dramatic and 10 times more.
No, I mean,
it says it all over Twitter, all over everywhere in Philly right now is writing that Howie Roseman is more high on Trey Lance than North Dakota's coach is right now. I mean,
it's from a random Instagram account, and then
it's from the Instagram report. But the Instagram report cited the Philly.
It's PDA.
They're citing the actual. Locker room sources are saying.
Yeah.
People in that organization are saying that they are high on Trey Lance. I'm just saying.
Carson Wentz finished his Eagles career with 16,811 yards, 113 touchdowns, and believe it or not, only 50 interceptions.
A lot of more than 30% were.
Yeah.
Last year.
That year. Yep.
And the rookie year, I guess, also makes up a decent.
Well, yeah, that was a lot more fumbles too, though. Yeah. But again, I don't consider it a bust. I wish him the best in Indy. I think that has the possibility to be, really solid team. Like, I think that is probably an 11 or 10 win team. I think legitimately. I wouldn't go 13 wins like Colin Coward when it said. But I think they're fine, and I think he definitely has a more cohesive coaching unit from what I've seen so far from Nick Sirianni in limited glimpses, and a more cohesive offense overall with that incredible offensive line. So, it is what it is. We wish them the best.
Yeah.
Please no Zach Wilson. Please God.
Trey Lance would be a nightmare.
Trey Lance would be even worse. Yes, I mean the one game he played this season.
We're not gonna judge it off of that one game, but it just seems unnecessary. Like you can't throw a second round pick down the drain.
Yep. Here's the thing I'm saying about the Eagles. You guys, you're gonna suck next year. And if Hurts is bad,
then we can get a quarterback.
Then you draft Sam Howell, or you draft Spencer Rattler, or you draft Jason Daniels.
We can wait. You don't need to immediately
Derek King.
Yeah.
The secondary is still going to be a problem next year. Yeah. I think you can't just replace a corner, within one single draft. You can't just revamp that.
Yeah.
We're still not going to have enough weapons. We can draft Jamar Chase and some rookie guys, but those guys are still going to have to develop. It's still going to be a struggle, and I think they're still for sure. I would probably angle to say the worst team in the NFC East.
Yeah,
which is a lot, and the 5 worst teams in football.
Yeah, I can't really see any other team in the division being worse than us unless something insane happens. The Giants maybe. If maybe the defense overperformed, but at the same time, we cannot be as bad as we are on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, that's true.
Impossible.
Yeah,
And they get to play us two times a year. So
yeah.
So 3 teams get like 2 free ones.
Yeah. I don't know. It's not going to be fun. That's
Absolutely
for sure.
not.
But I am excited for a Jalen Hurts era. I will say that. As much as I appreciated Carson Wentz's time here while he was here, it was time to go, and I am incredibly happy because I mean, I truly believe through I would say what was it, 11 or 12 weeks? I think it was 13 weeks of the season. I couldn't pick out a single game besides that San Francisco one in which I legitimately had fun watching Eagles football. And then Jalen Hurts to the field. So just that spark that he brings and brought to that offense is something that I'm definitely going to look forward to on Sundays. And that is that franchise right now, and it should be. So get all that quarterback competition stuff out of here right now because that is the future.
I totally prefer to surrounding him with weapons than moving on immediately.
Yep.
Because, I mean, there is a case to say that he is not a franchise quarterback, which is probably true, like for now. Because outside of the Arizona and New Orleans game, he kind of was shaky.
Yeah. I mean, I think the Dallas performance, is kind of overreacted to. I think he was fine. Same thing with the Washington one. Like he had his moments, but he wasn't efficient, and I will say that. But better play calling,
hopefully better weapons and
hopefully better weapons.
This is why we say fire Harry Roseman at the end of every podcast.
Exactly, and it stands.
Yes.
Please, fire Harry Roseman. Save us. All right. So we are gonna transition into our All-Star teams. So the NBA All-Star Draft occurred on Thursday. All-Star teams starters came out. The reserves, I don't know when they'll be picked. We literally had to look up the process on how reserves are picked. I've never looked at this before. But hopefully a less sobering topic. So let's get right into it.
Should we start with the West? Yeah, I guess I'll go. Yeah, for the West,
sounds good.
I'll just go through my entire lineup. So for the starters at guard, I mean guard's interchangeable because you can't have Damian Lillard or Stephen Curry coming off the bench. Like that's not possible.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Dame and Steph, and then for the forwards I got Kawhi and LeBron, obviously, and a center Jokic, obviously. Like this is pretty cut and dry.
Yeah.
Then off the bench we got Luka. I still cannot believe that he was picked over Damian Lillard. As much as I like Luka as a player, I think once
they did it for the money.
Once the wave, like this current generation of like your Hardens, your LeBrons, and your KDs are gone, he probably will be the best player in the league. But
he's the NBA.
Damian Lillard is probably a top 4 MVP candidate right now.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no reason why
Luka
Doncic should be starting. Anyways, then also at guard we got Donovan Mitchell. Obviously, that Jazz team is super fun to watch, and they're surpassing my expectations a ton.
Mm-hmm.
They remind me a lot of like that 2015 Hawks. Like I don't think they're gonna make it. I don't see them making it as far as like LA or maybe Denver, just because they don't really have the championship DNA or the experience.
I don't know, bro. I mean, offensively, if they can keep up what they have right now, with what they have with Bogdanovic, I mean that team even last year still took Denver to 7, and Denver put up a fight. So I don't know.
It could be a Miami situation like last year, but I'm not sure. Anyways, small forward, I'm kind of cheating here. Devin Booker again. The Suns are also a team that's really impressing me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad I put Devin Booker in here because I don't know. There's a lot of moving parts. It's like a forward, we got Anthony Davis and Rudy Gobert. Obviously, Anthony Davis is missing time now with like a leg injury, but you need to have him in. Like, there's no way you can have a top when he's at his peak, like a top 5 player in the league, not on the All-Star team. Rudy Gobert. I mean, I guess he's Defensive Player of the Year. I'm standing behind Miles Turner as long as he's healthy. But Rudy Gobert is probably, along with he's that glue keeping Utah atop the West. So obviously you can't have him off either. So for the two like utility slots, I had Paul George and Brandon Ingram. I was thinking about Zion. I was thinking about Shea. But at the end of the day, I mean, Paul George has another situation like Rudy Gobert. Paul George is keeping that LA team afloat because I mean we make all these memes about Paul George last year, and he's showing up, and
Yeah.
I'm impressed. And same with Brandon Ingram. I mean, it was him and Zion are interchangeable because I mean they're both having really good seasons. But yeah.
Yeah.
Am I
All right.
Who wants to go next?
Do you want to go or should I go?
You can go.
Okay. So I mean, I have the exact same Western Conference starting lineup that you do. I just wanted to touch on Steph Curry for a little bit. I mean, for this guy to be putting up 30 points per game, playing off ball the way he has so far this career. I mean, you know, the way Steph plays, he's always needed fantastic teammates in order to get the ball to him, unlike Dame, you know, just setting screens at the top. And, you know, for him to be doing what he's doing with Wiggins and Kelly Oubre, these guys around. But Wiggins has performed at points.
Yeah.
I actually do think he has somewhat of an all-star case.
Yeah.
But yeah, Steph Curry's been incredible and one of my favorite players of all time. So definitely. Jokic not MVP. LeBron and Kawhi to finish it off. Dame, I already said. As far as my reserves, Luka, Mitchell, PG, has been fantastic. Anthony Davis, who I think is getting a little bit too disrespected. I think people are going a little too far. Yes, he hasn't been the same as he was during that finals run. But the defensive impact has still been there from him, even though he's been struggling a little bit in the post offensively. So I believe he'll be back and still as good when he comes back from his 4 weeks. And the All-Star break came right in time. So hopefully he'll be back after that, and that'll be good. Rudy Gobert, I think, has been the best player on the Utah Jazz so far this season. I think he is the defensive player of the year. Just that being the best defense in basketball and him being, you know, the anchor of it. You know, obviously offensively he has limits, but he's been better in pick and roll situations than he has been throughout his entire career. I think he has to be an all-star, even though I don't know that he actually gets selected. Zion I put as one of my wild cards, just because, you know, again, the domination, the paint that he has had. I put him a little bit over Ingram just because the numbers look a little better, but I think those two are interchangeable. And then my last one, I put Chris Paul. I know Devin Booker is the more popular pick.
He's the right
but what Chris Paul has done in the mid-range, shooting 54% throughout the season, the defensive effects as far as plus minus that he's had has been absolutely astonishing. And you know, he's just been the same exact Chris Paul, just hasn't got the same hype he did in Oklahoma City because of that Phoenix team that he's on and the hype Booker's got from his scoring presence. And obviously he has been a better scorer. So I think, like the Zion Ingram thing, those two are interchangeable, but I want to give it to Chris Paul just because, you know, I think he deserves that respect. So yeah.
All right, so I guess it's my turn to do my West. I have the same starters as everyone else: Curry, Lillard, LeBron, Kawhi, and Jokic. And then the bench is where everybody starts to think about. I think I'm under the influence, but I'm not. Luka and Devin Booker at guard. I feel like those are like. I have Brandon Ingram as one of my forwards to start because Brandon Ingram he's so insane. He's like, and I have Zion as my other forward. Like, I don't know how that team is bad. That team has like the worst bench possible because Lonzo's finding his shot. Redick's Redick. Ingram and Zion, and then
defensively though.
Well, yeah, I know, but he's finding his shot. He started turning into an offensive presence, but then I don't know. I don't know how that team's done. My backup center is Gobert, as you guys have said. Defensive player of the year, probably. If not, definitely all defensive first team. I have my two utilities. Definitely going Donovan Mitchell for one of them because you could say, oh, Rudy Gobert is the reason they're great and all that stuff. But if Donovan Mitchell's not on that team, that's not a playoff team. I'm sorry.
I agree. I totally agree. I never said Donovan Mitchell wasn't a factor.
I think
he's
people
the best
who don't
player.
think people who say that Donovan Mitchell should not even be the MVP conversation are absolutely crazy in my opinion because this team would not be a playoff team without Donovan Mitchell. Yeah, you can't really say that about many other teams in the West. Then my last player, this is between Paul George and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I just went with Shai because he's played full games.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. They have very similar stats.
No, I like that. I mean, his numbers have looked incredible. I like that a lot.
I mean, the Clippers traded him, and he took it personally.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so hard to pick all-stars in this. Like, for the East, I guess I'll spoil it. I left out Colin Sexton. I would love him to have him in. Like, in the West, like, De'Aaron Fox would be perfect for the West. But there's so many just incredible players in this conference. Like, because if I it feels wrong taking out Paul George, like Brady Ingram. Like, it's just absurd.
Yeah.
So, I guess we're going to the East, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm cheating again with this because Kyrie said that Harden's the point guard, so I'm taking his word for it. Harden's my point guard. And then shooting guard Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant small forward, power forward Giannis, and then the MVP at center, Joel Embiid. And then for my reserves, got Kyrie Irving, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Bam Adebayo, which I somehow I forgot about because that Heat team has been rough, to say the least.
Yeah.
But, I mean, his stats are still great. He's still a top 5 center in the league, so you can't leave him off. Same thing with Nikola Vucevic. Like, obviously not the marketability of a superstar in, like, a big market. Obviously, Orlando is not. It's not like the Dwight Howard era or, like, the 90s anymore. And, like, they're always in contention for, like, a very low seed in the playoffs, so he'll never get the respect he deserves. But he's always been putting up all-star numbers.
I'm starting to think. You know how like colleges are like considered like defensive, like quarterback you or running back you.
Yeah.
I think that they might be that Orlando might be like the center team. Shaq, Dwight Howard, and Nikola Vucevic.
Yeah.
And of course, you can't forget Mo Bamba.
Yeah, Mo Bamba.
Mo Bamba,
future Laker Mo Bamba.
Yeah.
Future Laker Mo Bamba. God.
And for my utilities, this is hard because I did not want to leave off Zach LaVine because that reminds me of last year when Bradley Beal wasn't an All-Star, and that's absurd.
Mm-hmm.
But Chris Middleton, I'm kind of leaning towards him just because of the offensive prowess, averaging like 23 a game, I think. And I think that's just. And considering he's on a playoff team, he's going to be in regardless. And I mean, as much as I love Zach LaVine, I mean, the defense is and the Bulls team obviously is up and down. And I mean, I'll sound like a hypocrite because my next player is Julius Randle. But obviously the Knicks, they were in the playoffs for like a decent amount of time. They might be.
They still are.
Yeah, they might be a 7-8 seed.
Yeah.
But Julius Randle.
I think they'll be a 6.
Yeah, all of the memes in the 2019 offseason have like turned around because Julius Randle is actually playing like an all-star.
Yep.
He's been great.
Absurd.
I'm happy for him. I'm happy for him.
His numbers are comparable to Giannis right now. Yeah. That is how absurd it has gotten. So
yeah, completely different play styles, but numbers are comparable.
Yep.
Yeah, well, Julius Randle. I can't believe it. I hope.
I feel good for him. I'm happy he's turned his career around.
In the news that Julius Randle is an all-star.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's it. I'd like to apologize to Colin Sexton and Zach LaVine and Zion because they should be, but there's just too many good players in this league at this point.
Yep. So I have the exact same starting lineup as you again. Harden, even though, the rough first couple games, I feel like he could get penalized for, has been fantastic the past month. So I definitely put him there. Beal is leading the league in scoring. He has to be on there and beats the MVP. KD and Giannis are KD and Giannis. So then we get into Jaylen Brown. It's hard for me to give Celtics these spots, especially as I love watching them suffer right now.
We all hate the Celtics.
We love exactly.
We hate the Celtics. Exactly. I love hating them too.
We love hating them.
I love hating them more than I love cheering for the Sixers.
Really?
Really?
Yeah.
Really? I remember that. Really?
I hate that team. I celebrate more when they lose than when we win.
Wow.
I hate that team.
Because
that is commitment.
Especially when we're the ones winning and they're the ones losing.
Well, yeah.
It'd be just dumb with the Wendell Carter, by the way.
We need the video of the Jimmy Butler game winner going through right now.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But Jaylen Brown has been the anchor of that team throughout their, rough injury, COVID, whatever thing that's been going on throughout their entire team. Just the numbers he's putting up, the steps he's taken offensively. He's always had those defensive skills. I considered making him the starter over Harden, but I just think what he's doing in the isolation has just been fantastic. So yeah, I couldn't do it, but I'll still put him there. Kyrie next. Obviously missed a lot of games, but he's still Kyrie. Probably better than Kyrie. Yeah. 29 points per game is incredible. We touched on Julius Randle, just fantastic story. Got to be there. Tatum, I didn't want to put here just because of how many games he missed and because he's a Celtic, but mainly because of how many games he's missed. I wanted to put Chris Middleton and Bam, but I thought about it. He's averaging 26. I can't not put him here. So he's there. Vucevic.
And no John Isaac, no Markelle.
Yeah.
It's not really. And Aaron Gordon's out for like a decent amount of time. So.
But his shooting splits are amazing.
Yeah.
And, he's always going to be a great offensive player. Mm-hmm. So props to him. Zach LaVine I put on here just because, I don't want to do a Bradley Beal. And, I feel like the other two guys who I thought about putting there, Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler, just haven't played enough games or performed enough for me to put him over him. And then to top it off, Chris Middleton. And,
I cannot believe you guys both put Middleton on here. I cannot believe you guys both put Middleton over the player I put for my last utility.
Great defensively.
Yeah.
I absolutely cannot believe you put them over the player I have in my utility.
Who do you have?
You'll see. Can I go?
Yeah, no.
Go ahead.
All right. So I think we're all in agreement with the starters. Beal, Harden, Durant, Giannis, and Embiid. It can't be any other way. If it is, then the league is broken.
Yep.
But it is, I think.
Yeah, because we put Kyrie over Harden. So
yeah, that's interchangeable. It's whatever. Kyrie on my bench. Other guard, Zach LaVine. You can't leave him off. He's carrying one of the worst teams in the NBA. I have Jaylen Brown a forward, though, because he's a shooting guard, so a small forward or whatever. So, just abuse the system. Forward, and my other forward is Julius Randle. We talked about it. Amazing story. Yeah. Nikola Vucevic at my center, backup center. Then my utilities, they disagree with both of yours. My first one's Trae Young. I can't believe you guys left Trae Young off the. Yeah, I don't care what you say.
I don't know, bro.
Averaging 27 a game is good enough for me.
The defense stuff is tough, and he has missed a lot of games.
Yeah.
The defense, I don't care about the defense stuff because Harden's a starter. So I don't want to hear anything about the defense stuff.
Harden's been fine defensively.
No, he's not. He's not great. And then my other utility, who is also a small forward, who also is playing better than Middleton, who's also on our favorite team, it's Tobias Harris. How you guys forgot about him?
I forgot. Yeah, that's
how you forgot.
That's fair. I never put Chris Middleton over him. Yeah, but I think that's fair.
I would not take Middleton over him. I looked at the stats, and Chris Middleton's playing better.
Chris Middleton is playing better.
But the same concept still applies. Tobias Harris is averaging more points, better field goal percentage, better defense. Better rebounding too.
Yeah, I think Chris Middleton as a defender has been so great this season. I love Toby. I would love to put him there, but he has had a couple rough defensive games. We can go back to the Bron game, getting dunked on. We can go back to I mean, even like last night, Jay Sean Tate didn't have a bad game against him. It's like,
Yeah. I still think he gets the nod over Middleton just because he's played better.
Mm-hmm.
And everywhere outside of the defensive, he's beating him in stats. So
yeah, I think that's totally fair. I think that's fair.
I mean, that could change after tonight because I don't know. He's not really. They're not losing.
They're not losing anymore?
No, we're up 6.
Oh, I like that.
And B's gone M1. He was playing point guard. He was sprinting and play point guard.
Wow.
He took the ball, ran down the court, and almost dunked on Zach LaVine.
Okay.
He did a Jokic.
Yeah. While you talked about Trae Young, I really wanted to talk about his play style. It's really annoying. I'm sorry.
It
reminds me a lot of like Joel Embiid sometimes, just forcing fouls, but
it's based off Harden. Harden started all of this, so
and then it carried over to Embiid and Trae Young. But I mean, I like Trae Young as a scorer. Like I think when he is not just complaining about he's probably one of the more fun offensive players to watch, but you got to take that into consideration. You got to consider the defense. But I mean, you can obviously make the case looking at the stats, but yeah, I think I'd rather have, let's see.
I mean, I think it's still a skill. The same way I say it, I defend Joel and I defend Harden. I still think it is a skill to be able to draw fouls at the rate these guys are. It is still, a basketball thing that these guys are practicing, these guys are working on. And so, I can accept it as a part of the game as long as it doesn't become too egregious where, everybody is drawing fouls on every single play and it slows the game down to the point of like a baseball game.
It was awful. The bubble, it was awful.
The bubble had a lot. Yeah, with that.
I really think you can't overlook the fact that Trae Young's averaging 10 assists a game, and his defense is bad or whatever it is. He's still averaging a steal a game. I mean, 43% from the field isn't awful. I don't know how. I don't know how you could leave him out.
There's so many good guards.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, there's so many guys who have made such a huge impact. Middleton would be the guy who I would take off.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, you look at the 538 numbers and where he is as far as Raptor rating. You look at the plus minuses. I mean, Chris Middleton is top 10, top 15 in all of those. So it's really hard, especially with the amount of games Trae Young has missed.
Yeah, that's where the case for like Bam and Adebayo or Jimmy Butler gets tough because like I would gladly take Bam out, put Middleton at the 4, and then put in like Zach LaVine because it just feels so wrong to put Zach LaVine off of there. But at the same time, like Bam Adebayo in the games that he's played, he's putting up like great value Jokic numbers. He's averaging like 7 assists,
20 and 10 or something like that. Yeah.
He's still top. Like if you don't count Anthony Davis, he's probably a top 4 center in the league. Like, well, let's see. Embiid, Jokic, Gobert, and then
I would put him over Gobert. I mean, not so far this season.
Yeah,
but overall, if I was looking at it, I would definitely put him over Gobert. Just because of the offensive impact he has. And Jimmy Butler, I mean, to me, he's not drawing fouls at the rate he had before. He's taken somewhat of a primary, almost like a role player like role in the games he's actually played so far this season. And if Miami is going to continue to dominate the way they did in the bubble, they need him, to play some kind of legitimate role, whether that's as a facilitator, whether that's as a playmaker, whether that is drawing fouls, whether that's on the defensive end. But he doesn't seem like he's making the same impact in any of those areas so far this season. And I know he's had illness and I know he's had injury. So, it's hard to really judge that. Yeah. But I don't think he's been the same player for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Should we segue to our next?
Yeah.
Segue to our next. All right. So I actually came up with this next thing. Well, actually, Adam came up with the idea for this whole segment. I came up with the idea of the topic of the segment, if that makes sense. So, Adam, do you want to explain the segment and I'll explain what we're talking about?
Right. So, we've always wanted to have actual segments, and I think this is the one that's here to stay. What are we gonna call it? I think just argument time works fantastic.
It's just a debate.
Should we call it
Stephen A. versus
Stephen A. time?
Yeah, I don't know.
Stephen A. time. It's called Stephen A. time now.
Yeah.
Subject to change. This is so on the whim.
Yeah.
Let's just you can introduce it. No, we can go into it. You can do the same order as last time.
Okay.
So can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So a lot of NFL rookies this season. There were a lot of really good rookies, a lot of breakout rookies like Justin Jefferson, and then you have players like, trying not to say Jalen Rager.
I mean, like
Damon Arnett. You have players like Damon Arnett, who got drafted the first round. So not the first round. We got a lot of good players. So, we got to think about, are we really going to go call these players busts already, or are we going to give them a second chance? So in this segment, we are going in today's mini first take, Stephen A., whatever we're going to call this. We're going to be over second-year players in the NFL who we think are going to have either breakout years, or just years where they're going to be more utilized to be better next year.
All right.
Who wants to go first? We're going to do offensive defense player. Who wants to go first for offense?
I'm really conflicted on my offensive guy because between two quarterbacks.
Oh.
And it feels like a cop-out to go with Jalen Hurts.
Oh, you were going to say – I think Jalen Hurts is a cop-out. Yeah, because I don't think he –
At the same time, like, I feel like if the Dolphins do go, like, Devontae Smith or Jalen, or trade down and get, like, Jalen Waddle, I think
there's no excuse for
that chemistry could possibly fix Tua Tagovailoa or getting, like, some offensive lineman in the draft. So I guess I'll go with Tua just because the ceiling is still there, the potential is still there. And when Devontae Parker's out for a few games, and even in the games that he did play, didn't really show up, and just a lack of general weapons, and like still with that, like that defense won them 10 games. And you can argue Fitzpatrick, but I think if you give Tua more time to develop and not just throw him in while you're winning games, I'd rather it be a mix for a little while just because I think the injury definitely stuck with him a little bit in his rookie season because I don't know, a lot of his – I really don't want to blame his terrible decision-making on his injuries, but at the same time, I think if he has the chemistry that he did with like Devontae Smith or Jalen Waddle, I think that's a match made in heaven, so I'll go with Tua.
I think Devontae definitely would be more of a match just because Waddle didn't have as much chemistry with them. I mean, Waddle really only had like half a year with them.
Yeah.
Like he was there for like Waddle was there as a freshman when Tua was a sophomore, but he was never really in the game. Like I feel like Devontae, if they draft Devontae is the only right choice. And I'll say it's a mock, this is another cop out to put the blog in the description. But visit the blog. But like I don't know what I'm trying to say. Like if you draft Jamar Chase, like it's a great thing. But if you draft, like he's the better receiver. I know Jamar Chase is the better receiver. I watched Clemson against LSU. I'm still crying over that. Aside the fact, Devontae Smith is like Tua's like favorite target outside of baby Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah.
Like, if they don't draft Devontae, like second and 26 every play, Devontae Smith is faster than a lot of the corners in the AFC East.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if the Patriots trade Gilmore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like Devontae would have
a huge possibility.
In my opinion, Devontae Smith will have a Justin Jefferson type season if he went to the Dolphins. So is your player Tua, I assume?
Yeah.
That was your player?
Yeah, I'm going with Tua.
Adam, do you want to do your offensive player next?
All right, sounds good. So, in Green Bay, there's still a little turmoil brewing after that playoff loss. But if there's one guy who stood out for better or worse, in that said playoff loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, it was A.J. Dillon. And he's going to be my what are we calling this? Stephen A. time breakout bust player.
Breakout bust player
for the day. Aaron Jones is a free agent. It is a question whether or not the Green Bay Packers are going to re-sign him. I lean more towards them doing it, but I can see a team like the Jets or offering him major money. So A.J. Dillon, incredible power back throughout college. I mean, not the biggest guy, but just incredibly strong. I think he can make a huge impact as just, I mean, if not just the third down guy. He's not a bad pass catcher. I mean, he can catch passes out of the backfield. He did that in college. So,
yeah,
I
he was
mean,
the only notable player I can name that has played for Boston College.
Boston
Matt
College,
Ryan.
exactly.
So I hope he would be catching passes out of the backfield. He's probably playing quarterback too.
Yeah, exactly. He probably did. I mean, we could probably pull up some Philly special plays. Who knows? But yeah, he's going to be my breakout player just in case of the Aaron Jones departure. And I think he could be very solid for sure.
Yep.
My turn?
Yep. Your turn.
So my player, after the draft, it definitely looked like this team was going to be like absolutely insane. That this was like the best possible situation for the team he got drafted to. And that this team was going to flourish, playoff team, be able to compete with the Chiefs, possibly, if the defense is good. And that didn't happen because this receiver that this team drafted, the quarterback absolutely messed this up, all right? 113 targets, 52 receptions. I don't have the stats, but I know a lot of those targets were not catchable. And this may be alarming for the quarterback of this team, who may or may not be very bad. 6 times, out of the 113 times that he threw to him, 6 times that ball was intercepted. That's like a problem when you're trying to target your rookie receiver who won the Blankentoff Award for Alabama, named Jerry Jeudy. Yeah. And the fact that Jerry Jeudy still has 52 receptions for 156 yards, absolutely insane to me. And people talk about how Justin Jefferson had this like insane yards per catch or yards per reception. Jerry Jeudy had 16.5 yards per catch. If you're keeping count at home, that's very, very good when it comes to fantasy. If you're thinking about like steals for next year, only 3 touchdowns. That included a 92-yard touchdown and that one really nice one against the Jets Thursday night. That was beautiful. I feel like the drops were a problem. I admit he had 10 drops. That's a problem. He didn't really break any tackles. He only broke 5 tackles all year. But you know what? It's fine. It's fine. I think next year for Jeudy, as long as they get rid of Drew Lock, he should be fine.
Yeah, I think it's hard for me considering their draft pick. I mean, I don't know what the future holds for Trey Lance specifically. But I like that because I thought he was the best receiver by far out of college. In that
I think
draft.
we were all fooled by Henry Ruggs. I think everybody saw how best Henry Ruggs was. That man should not have been a first round pick.
Definitely. That's a Mike Mayock pick.
He wasn't good in college. I don't know why everybody hyped him up. He never had a 1,000-yard season in college. Never a 900-yard season in college. So I don't really know what we were all going through.
He was John Ross.
Yeah.
Although I still think he is.
I almost picked him as my breakout player, to be honest. Just because. But yeah. Ethan?
Yeah, defensively, this is going to be confusing because this guy didn't play a single game. Or a single snap, even. So, you think it was a 2nd-round pick by Cleveland? Yeah, from the LSU Tigers, Grant Delpit. He didn't play a single game. And he was probably my safety 1 that year. And I think considering how inconsistent that secondary was, I think adding that would add so much to that Browns defense. And, I mean, it's definitely hard coming off a torn Achilles, but he still is one of the most explosive players on that LSU defense and could make an immediate impact. I don't really have much else to say because his health is definitely going to be a question mark. His play time will be a question mark, barring any like signings by the Browns or anything. But yeah, I mean, Greedy Williams hasn't panned out totally, but him and Denzel Ward and Grant Delpit could actually form a decent young secondary alongside that defensive line and the linebackers. So, yeah, I'm not going to say he's going to be the catalyst, but they definitely will be a big contributor if he gets.
Yeah, he'll definitely make an impact.
Yeah. Mine was Jeff Okudah out of Ohio State, number 3 overall pick. Yep. You know, for a guy who was the number 3 overall pick, a pretty easy pick for me. He definitely struggled a ton in man coverage this year, but he was also incredibly banged up.
That's normal for corners.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why. Corner. And I'm saying, I want to say this now because I like to be optimistic about things. I can't call Damien Arnett a bust yet.
Yeah.
Definitely can't call Damien Arnett a bust yet. So go ahead.
Yeah.
And Jeff Gladney. Any quarter that
yeah. I mean, out of Ohio State, I just thought, he was probably the most dominant corner I've seen as a Penn State fan in the Big Ten in probably 5 years. You know what, bro? I didn't get to watch the legendary Penn State-Ohio State match. I
can tell you Sean Wade didn't do much. Sean Wade probably the only reason that Penn State scored.
We didn't get the great matchup that we all wanted. But yeah, Jeff Okudah just has, I still think a bright future. Maybe, some actual coaching will help him out a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see.
I have faith in Dan Campbell. He sort of pulled off a pretty good trade. That outside of Jared Goff, everything they got back for Stafford.
Yeah,
great.
that was terrible. I'll give
I have to admit, if I'm a Lions fan, I'm a little optimistic right now.
I'm a little bit more.
I'm a little bit more optimistic than I was when they hired him. I'm a lot more optimistic than when what's his name existed.
And I'm happy. I'm happy for Stafford if I'm a Lions fan that he actually gets to succeed.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of videos where people are like, you know what, the Rams are my 50th favorite team now, or whatever.
Yeah.
Not me. I'm just that's what people are saying.
Just in general. Yeah. All
My
right.
turn?
Oh, you. Yep.
Final take of the night. All right, this player.
This better be good.
Very good at college.
Okay.
I still don't know how the Giants didn't take him at 4. The team he played for didn't really use him until the last 7 games of the season, and then those last 7 games, he showed them why he should have been on that team. I mean, he didn't really play coverage as a linebacker much. But when he did, he had 2 pass deflections, a forced fumble recovery, 54 tackles, an interception. No, almost a couple 4 tackles for losses. I mean, I can't hide it anymore. Probably one of the best defensive players in club's history. It's the man who could literally play any of the 11 positions on the field and not look like he was out of place. You could put him on the D-line. You could put him at corner. Probably put him at corner against Michael Thomas. He'd be fine. I mean, I don't know how it took Arizona so long for them to utilize him, because he's like the ultimate Swiss Army knife. People are like, he
was my favorite player.
Yeah, he was my favorite player too. He's just so dynamic. You play him linebacker, play him safety. Maybe play him on the edge. Maybe play him a corner.
And Micah this year reminds me so much of him. I mean,
I think outside of outside of Tanner Muse, my favorite defensive player ever on Clemson. Outside of Tanner Muse and Trayvon Mullen, absolutely.
All right.
I mean, that's my breakout player.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So we will be back next week for more basketball stuff. The Sixers hopefully gonna pull it out tonight and this weekend. But as always, fire Howie Roseman.
Please, good Lord.
Yeah, thank you.
Fire Cal McNair too. You can throw that in there.
Yeah, there we go. See you guys.